Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher, and you know what that means? It means that we are going to be in the WTF mode today. What the football? So we have some interesting happenings as week 5 is completed now. And I have to tell you, I was actually surprised that this week didn't bring us more drama, but we didn't have as much as we've had in the first part of the season. But we had enough issues where it definitely has a couple of WTF moments that we want to bring to your attention. So first of all, one of the things that kind of drive me crazy is we're sitting there watching the game and we all have these moments where we're just looking at different things. We look up if we're watching either live at the game or you're watching it on TV and you see a penalty or you hear a penalty and you're thinking the play's gone and you're just like, what's going on? And then you look up and you see it again on TV, or if you're even at the game and you're like, wait, what? And so then you look and where was the penalty? And we've all done it. We all scream at our TV like they can hear us. We know they can. The football gods can. But it's just crazy to me how bad some of these penalty calls have gotten. Now, I think that the refs have cleaned up their act a little bit when it comes to roughing the passer, only because now I'm looking for a flag on almost every single sack that comes out there. Do we get the sack? Are we not getting it? Was that full body weight? Did he go to the side? Did he lift his leg? I mean, seriously, it's almost like trying to figure out a crossword puzzle. What are they thinking at this point? So a couple of them, I'm thinking, there was even 2 players on that guy. Where's the call? And I'm not that kind of person that likes to see calls all the time. Let them play football. I'm tired of it. And it's actually even programmed players to not want to play the game. They just want to play and then get a call every single time. You see them doing that motion to pull out the flag, pull out the flag. But when you look at some of these calls that are just blatant, and they're not just bad calls, they're game-changing and job-changing calls, as we heard our trusted coach Mike Tomlin talk about in his presser. And, you know, he tries to be careful because he doesn't want to get out his wallet, as he calls it, to make it lighter, because any coaches that are disparaging to the refs, apparently there's fines involved and they can't really say anything. They can take it up with the front office. But he basically was like, I stand by what I say. Some of these are a joke. And he did say in his presser, you know, they're losing games and jobs are on the line. So they have to get this right. But a couple of penalties in the Steelers game. Bostic, one of our new players we picked up from the Colts, he basically even asked the ref, he's like, what did I do? And if you go back and look at the play, as he was sacking the quarterback, he basically was trying to get up. And when he couldn't get up, he got a personal foul penalty. And I was just like, he's trying to get up. And so that was unfortunate. He just went to the side, lost his balance, and he gets this call. But what's interesting is the ref said to him, and he quoted it, he basically said, I asked the ref what the penalty was, and he goes, I have no idea. Oh, okay. Well, then how can he change the behavior or fix it if even you don't have any idea? Then TJ Watt, who we adore because that guy is just a beast out there. And I guess him and his brother both have 6 sacks on the season. But he's basically, he kind of sidestepped and maybe brushed the jersey, you know, of the quarterback that we were playing. And I was just like, okay, wait a minute. He brushes his jersey and, you know, Matt Ryan, and he basically gets a flag. And then you go back and look at replay and it's like, he didn't even touch him. And he even said that. He didn't even touch him. Then his brother posts out, he goes, tell me where that is any kind of penalty call there. He goes, I'd like to see it. And he had it on his TV after his game. So it's just, it's sad really, just to see what's happening out there when it comes to penalties. But we can just go on and on and on about just ridiculous penalties from the refs, and it will just never, ever, ever end. Remember those days when we had those great replacement refs? I miss those days. At least they had an excuse. They didn't know what they were doing because they didn't know what they were doing. They were brought up from college games. I think a couple of them just did high school games. But at least they had an excuse. These guys are supposed to be now full-time employees who are fully trained and have experience. So it's just sad to me, but I'll move on from that and talk about a couple of the WTF moments. And we usually end with the Steelers, but since I'm on a roll here, I will just talk about Ben because I love Ben. I love Ben Roethlisberger. I think future Hall of Famer. He just is so smart with the football at times, and he just knows what's going on in the field. I love his vision. When he was ever injured and he'd have to have somebody else go in for him, like Landry Jones, you could just see the major drop-off. It was like going from a solid 10 to like a 3, and that was actually Landry's number. Rest his soul. But who knows where he's at now. I know he's trying out for 100 teams, and we'll see what happens with him. But it's just interesting when Ben, just at the end of the first half, I think we had less than a minute left, and we're in the end zone. I mean, we are down there in the red zone, and we are within 2 inches of getting in, and he makes a bad throw, and it's almost intercepted, but it's hit down to AB, and then he attempts that again, and we've had such a great day running the ball, and we're so close to a touchdown right at the end of the half. So he made a bad decision, and they were getting the ball back because they deferred, and it was an interception on the second try. Exact same type of throw. So Ben needs to be better there. I think the biggest thing, though, you can say about Ben is that he has a very short memory when it comes to how crappy he can play sometimes, because then he came out in the second half and just nailed it. He was, I mean, we put up a 40 burger. It was fantastic. So WTF Ben for that interception before halftime, but then you know what? WTF to the other team. Look what we did to you. So a couple of other things that happened the past week. It was just funny to me. And not funny, ha-ha, but just the kickers out there have one job. They have one job. There is not like they have to make these reads and they have to make sure they're running down the field and they have to do all these things. They just have to kick it through the 2 sticks. That's all they've got to do. So you should be practicing 5,000 times a week to get it through those sticks. You should have wind blowing in your hair. You should have somebody dumping rain buckets on you. Whatever it takes, you should be freezing your butt off, plus sweating your guts out, whatever it takes to do your job. And it's amazing how they still can't. We've had more missed extra points, missed field goals, and seriously, game-changing outcomes. But the most blatant one was Mason Crosby of Green Bay Packers. Oh, man. WTF, 4 missed field goals and an extra point, and they lost by 8 points. But the sad part there, because they lost to the Lions, he was in a dome. There was no weather. How do you miss 4 field goals and an extra point in a dome? I don't know how you do that. He doesn't either, I don't think. And I mean, he had to have Aaron Rodgers come up and hug him after, because it wasn't just bad, it was embarrassing. This guy is a really good kicker, and you can have an off day. I mean, our kicker missed an extra point right after a great, touchdown where Connor floated over the top like a Palomalo style touchdown. But it was just so bad, and it was sad. So that was really unfortunate for him and Green Bay. But I can't be sad that Green Bay lost. Just one less thing for us to worry about. Then we go to the Chiefs. Now, Kansas City Chiefs fans, I love you, but you need to settle down. You're 5-0. Congratulations with a rookie, well, not really rookie quarterback. Remember, he sat a year behind Alex Smith. But he's in his freshman year of being a starter. And Mahomes, and he's amazing, but he did not throw a touchdown in the game. He had a rushing touchdown. He had 2 interceptions. He hadn't thrown one all season. So he's great. And you are 5-0, but remember 2017 with your former quarterback. You were also 5-0. And then you had a midseason meltdown. So as much as I appreciate a good start, and believe me, with the Steelers sitting 2-1, I appreciate a good start. But you're the same place you were last year. And what are you heading into? Or I should say, where are you heading into at week 6? You are heading to Foxborough. So until you can beat the Patriots at home, I don't want to hear about it. Okay? Just settle down there. Simmer down. I seriously love podcasting because you can yell at people, argue and everything, and nobody can say anything to you. So nobody talks back. I mean, you can, I suppose, on the comments when you hear it, but hopefully you'll be like, yeah, you know what, Kansas City, simmer down, listen to Terry. We'll see. I like the feedback we get. Everybody kind of gets excited sometimes when they listen to us. But how about OBJ? So, you know what? Odell he's a head case. That kid, I mean, they just paid him $65 million. He's got, 40 guaranteed. And which I don't get that, by the way, especially coming off an injury and the fact that he's had one catch. I mean, he's a talented player, don't get me wrong. But without that catch, he's just out there. But, he just trashes his team. And they're looking to him for leadership. Did you hear his coach over the weekend? They're like, if you have an issue with him, go talk to him. And I'm thinking, Coach, you should go talk to him and tell him to zip it. Knock it off. Say, you know what? WTF, Odell, what are you doing to help this team? Nothing. And then you hear his locker room comments and he's like, oh, well, if my comments were motivating them, are you serious right now? How about just basically taking your team down a notch, thinking you're all that? I haven't seen you score a ton of points. But then he'll come back and say, yes, but I threw a touchdown pass this week. Oh, that Eli threw to me and then I threw for a touchdown. Okay. Let's see what you can do next week. Fine. But just, you know what? Zip it. That's just crazy. And then Monday Night Football, Drew Brees. Okay. He did it. He has his record now, record-breaking night. He surpassed Dan Marino, Peyton Manning for the all-time passing record. So he basically is amazing, and that's great. I think it's awesome that he is, number one in the league. I do think the funny part, which was a WTF to me, I couldn't stop laughing. So when I'm talking about penalties, what happened when he had that touchdown to finally surpass Peyton? So he gets the football, he runs over to the side, they give him a certificate, his wife was already walking down there, you just knew it was going to happen. I mean, the Redskins were playing like crap, so you just knew it was going to happen. But they just finished the touchdown. They didn't kick the extra point, they hadn't gone for a 2-point conversion. The game was still going on, there was still time on the clock. So you see the ref come up to him, and I don't know if they'll show it on mic'd up, but based on the fact that what I could kind of see lip reading and what it looked like they ended up doing anyway, was that he had to take a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. So he gets a record, and it's not like baseball where basically the umpires are like, they step back and let you have your moment. No, in football, you're in real time. And so they're like, okay, well, this is great, and shake your hand and celebrate and go kiss your wife and your 5 kids or whatever. I'm kidding. He has 4, but just, hug your coach. But just so you know, you're holding up the game. So it was just kind of funny to me to see that. But Drew Brees, he's never quite been my favorite player because he's been more about the stats than the wins. And he proves it every time he steps on the field. And somebody said, well, he's 5'11". What does that have to do with his, passing yards and everything? I'm thinking, well, have you tried to throw when you're 5'11" up to somebody who's 6'5"? Most wide receivers are tall, well, notwithstanding Antonio Brown, but it's hard to do. It is very hard to do. So, and remember, San Diego cut him. San Diego Chargers, now Los Angeles Chargers, cut him. The same team that drafted Eli in 2004 and then traded for Phillip Rivers because Eli didn't want to play for them. And so they wanted Phillip Rivers. That's who they wanted, and that's who they got. And not that Phillip isn't a bad player. He's a decent quarterback, but what has he done for them? So it's just funny because you see these guys that are out there, and Drew has been a tremendous person for the city of New Orleans. So, after Katrina, he was really part of that whole community. So they love him. So a shout out to him, WTF for passing. I mean, Peyton, shoot, that's just awesome. And just very impressive there as far as I have to give him his kudos on that. And then just moving on to a couple of things, and we can't, you have to look at around the league and what's going on. And when Jerry Jones comes out on his radio show and says something like, well, I don't want to second guess my quarterback. I mean, how could you not start laughing? That's what he does. I mean, that's what he's known for. Just ask his former coaches. I mean, him not second guessing Garrett. I think everybody thinks that Jason Garrett is basically his puppet. So they're playing terrible. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Dak Prescott can do anything. But this year, they're just not good. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, the Jags versus Kansas City, and I mentioned Kansas City, yes, they're at 5-0, but Jaguars there was 5 giveaways there. And so it just like there was in the 49ers versus Arizona game, which gave Arizona their first win. When you have 5 giveaways or Kansas City 5 takeaways, you're not going to win the game. Trust me, I'm a Steelers fan. I know. You've got to be just on top of that. And Jags don't have Leonard Fournette. So it was a WTF game. And a friend of mine who was actually at the game, him and his wife, they said that it was pouring buckets. I mean, to the point where you couldn't see. You could not see. So it was definitely it had to be just a crazy game there. And then coming back to some of the other 5-0 team, how about the Rams? You know, Sean McVay, he is so cool. I'm in California. I'm in Southern California, and I've been able to see a couple of their practices. And so, because it's really local, one of the colleges here, UCI, when they're in preseason. And it's just cool to see him work. This guy is just such a football mind. But I was laughing on his presser after they won. He's like, I'm tired. I mean, he's just like, that was an exhausting game. He went for it on 4th and 1, sorry. And it was actually like 4th and inches. And, you know, he's an impressive coach. I just can't say enough about this guy. I mean, my favorite coach is Mike Tomlin, hands down. He just is very inspiring. But Sean McVay is just a cool coach. So when you think of a WTF moment, you're looking at it and you just see him when it was 4th and 1 or 4th and inches. And he's like, you know what? Yep, we're going for it. And he did. And he sent in his quarterback and it was great. So that was just a cool, fun thing to watch. But when you get back to WTF of what the football, we have to talk Raiders. I know it's sad, but we do. I mean, the Raiders, they're terrible. They suck. They're awful. What other word could I use for it? They're 1-4. And listen, and they've hired Gruden for 10 years. He's been out of football so long. I mean, how did they not know that it's like somebody saying, well, I'm a doctor because I play one on TV, meaning that they're going to be great if you throw them into a surgery ward. No, I know he used to be a coach, but he's been on TV for a long time and he is not doing well. He doesn't have control of his team. He definitely is not a fan of his quarterback. And so just really seeing what he's doing out there, and you just look in his face and he's like, did I really sign up for this? I'm like, dude, I think you're getting a $100 million contract. It's quite a bit. I'm probably overstating. I'm thinking it's about 50, but still for a coach, it'll be interesting to see how long he lasts. I mean, think about their game. Punt, field goal, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, interception. And then with 4 minutes left, they finally had a touchdown. So they lost. And it was just sad when you look at their game and look at what they're doing out there. But in the AFC, we'll take it. Any AFC losses helps the Steelers, so I'm okay with that. And then one thing that I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the phrase Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp was a baseball player, and he was a baseball player in the 1900s. First, he was drafted by the Tigers and then went to the New York Yankees. But he was a player that was on the rise, and he was just one of the hardest hitters out there, and really just a great player to the first couple of years he was there. He even won a couple of pennants, and won the World Series with the Yankees in 1925, but actually 1923. But here's the story of Wally Pipp. So he asked to sit out a game for a headache by his coach, or to his coach, and his coach said, "You're kidding. It was an important game." And he asked him, "Are you sure you can't get through it?" He goes, "No, I just think I want to sit out." And this is somebody thinking that they're probably a little more than the team. And it brings me a little bit to the Le'Veon Bell, James Conner situation. Well, then I don't know if you've heard of a little player called Lou Gehrig. And that sit out by Wally Pipp led to Lou Gehrig and the start of his 2,130 consecutive games. And so there is a story that we tell our kids sometimes. My daughter was an athlete for 15 years, then took it into college as well as a softball player. And she knew, I'm not saying you play through injuries or play through adversity, but you have to make a decision sometimes. Are you there for the team or are you there for yourself? And I know we're all sick of hearing about Le'Veon. I know I am. But James Conner, he went out and balled this weekend. I mean, he just 185 scrimmage yards. and 2 touchdowns, a dive over the top for the first touchdown. That boy he just played his butt off. And so I'm not saying he's Bell. He's not. Le'Veon Bell is a different type of player. He's a running back, a wide receiver, a great blocker. But James Conner's coming into his own. And I'm telling you, Bell, if you don't get back, you're going to have a Wally Pitt moment, and nobody could be happier about that but me. Do I think we can still win without Bell? I do. Do I think we can make the Super Bowl? It's a little suspect. But in Ben's words, there's no way James Conner should sit once Bell comes back. That's just rude. That's just wrong. And there could be a Wally Pitt moment happen in the Steeler franchise. So we'll see what happens there. And then last, I'm going to finish on the WTF fantasy football ridiculousness that everybody's dealing with. So I don't know about you guys, but how many times do you have a fantasy football league that you want to pound sand? So I have 2. One that I run. It's easy, just a quick $10 buy-in. Got 12 teams, and you can win $50 as first place, and so on. So it's easy, and if you ever want to do it, just hit me up. You never know. I love changing out people. But it's funny because you can actually just get so frustrated because one week you could score 150 points and lose your butt, and the next week barely break 100 and win your league. It's ridiculous. And so that's where my frustration is. So what I call my money league, and I'm actually in somebody else's league for that one. Pretty big buy-in. It's a $100 buy-in, but you can win $1,000 if you win. 14 teams. 14 is tough because you can't always pick up a player. Not all are available. And in this league, which is interesting, they don't just have a defense, which is in my league. In this league, basically, they have defensive players. So you have to pick up, a cornerback or safety. You have to pick up a couple linebackers. You have to pick up a defensive back, and a defense. So it's definitely you only have 3 on the bench, and that includes 1 defense, 1 defensive player, and 1 maybe 2 offensive players. So it can be a really tough thing. And they draft. I auto draft. Don't at me. I like to auto draft because then everybody gets the same crap. So you either get the same good or you get the same crap, and you just deal with what you got. And hopefully you're savvy enough to trade and negotiate and pick up players here and there and find those little gems like I did last year with Juju Smith-Schuster in the 3rd game of the season, and ended up winning my $1,000 for my money league. So, but it's interesting because week 1, 160 points, and I lost to somebody who, how much did they score? 189 points. But then the following week, yes, I scored 102, and I'm thinking, great. I didn't even want to look at it because my players are playing really bad. And did I win? I did. I did. Because the other person, they only scored 96. And then the week after that, 151, but I barely won because the person that lost to me scored 150.18. So, and then probably the biggest WTF of the week is somebody in my money league said, hey, I'll trade you Brandon Cooks for Ajayi. So I'm like, Jay Ajayi and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm just like, Brandon Cook's been doing a good job for me, but I already had James White, and I had Michelle from the Patriots. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that only because I had them on 2 different teams, but I could use a backup running back, especially because I'm going to have some buys soon. So I take Ajayi. He takes Cooks. Cooks ends up in the first quarter with a concussion. He's out, and he's like chatting me on back and forth going, are you kidding me? What a terrible thing I did. But then what just happened to Jay Ajayi? Oh, yeah, he's on IR, so I had to drop him and pick up somebody else. I ended up picking up a kicker. But it's just interesting and funny how that just happens. You just have a week where you're thinking you're making a great trade, a great pickup, and there they go on IR. So that's my WTF fantasy football pound sand and week, and it's just ridiculous. It's crazy. And then the last thing is, so because Fournette is out, Leonard Fournette for the Jags, here's a WTF pickup, which is kind of surprising. Jamal Charles, remember him? He's was a former running back for Kansas City, a little bit injured in the 2015 to 17 season. So he just got picked up today. I mean, as we speak. So this is kind of interesting. That'll be different how that plays out, especially since they lose a running back in Philadelphia as well, again with Ajay, and they have a running back who's out a little bit for a while. It looks like 2 to 3 games in Jacksonville. And you notice how nobody's saying, hey, let's go get Le'Veon Bell, pay the remaining contract, and then pay him a ton of money. They're like, no way. He's holding out for that team. What would he do to us? So it's kind of out there that, you know what, Bell, you might want to get on a plane and get back to your team. Just saying. That's my WTF thing. So you might want to consider that. So everybody, thank you for listening today. I hope you don't mind if I go solo every once in a while. I know you miss Joe because he's our fearless leader, but he'll be back with me next week. And everybody, make it a great day and just have a good week. And go Steelers. We're excited for the weekend playing the Bengals.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.